one thing you told me about new this new ascension, this new age of Earth that is coming about is that it is being birthed by women because women are the birth givers. We are the life
Mhm.
bringers. We are generally, not always, the ones who are more aligned with the feminine. The feminine is that death rebirth energy.
Yeah.
And what really stuck with
The womb.
yeah,
That womb, that dark womb of like, yes, creation.
yes, many women have a womb, have a portal inside of their body.
Yes.
And that really stuck with me because you said we are the birthers, so we are the ones birthing this new age. And we've talked some about what we need the men to do.
We are going to need them to help us be the architects, the constructors, that bringing that doing energy, like the actual doing, because we're not just going to be like, okay, and now here we are, right? We've got to to have new ways of doing everything. I mean, farming, uh, the medical system,
Education,
school system. Yes.
government system.
Yeah. Financial. That's a big one.
Mm. So if men are looking for a role or a function, we don't want that to be their identity. We want it to first come from an empowered place. And then if they're looking to serve a greater cause, a greater collective, we're saying, help us build these new systems.
Yeah.
Do what you're really good at, just in a way that serves everybody, including yourself.
Yes.
And I wanna I wanna break down the provider protector archetype for a minute.
Okay.
And I still have a bit of emotion attached to this because I of my own personal experience of men saying like, "No, I'm a provider and I'm a protector," and me being like, "I don't feel provided for and protected. I don't feel safe. I don't care about the money that you make or the house that you live in." So, can we give a new mindset for what it means to be a protector and a provider? That men can shift away from this really archaic, I provide money and I protect by building a house. How can they actually be protectors and providers in this new age?
It's that is such a great question, and it's something that has come up in multiple areas lately, and it is truly by providing their presence, their strong presence in the now moment, by finding first their own safety. And this goes back to, I feel, I don't know if I said this on my channel or this, but that visual they always give me where we are suspended in the guides give me this tube of light, and everything can crumble beneath your feet, and yet you are still whole, perfectly engulfed, suspended, and supported in this tube of beautiful light and love, right? You, none of it matters. It can all fall away. You still have you. And that's the kind of energy we need to feel from the divine masculine counterpart, that they are so solid in their now and they're rooted in their safety, that when you're just touching them next to their presence, you feel that emanating. And now that gives you the safety to kind of like go about the intuitive stuff, the birthing of the ideas, the coming up with like, hey, I got this insight, what do you think of that? And part of that crumble beneath would be really coming to terms with, what if it all went away tomorrow? I'm not saying I'm putting out there. It's like, that's the level of comfort you need to be in your own self. Like, what if your house and your job and everything that you hold in high regard, which is really just in high regard with the ego self, what if that goes away? Are you still safe? Are you still loved? Have you still protected yourself? And when you really can get to that point, that's inviting in the divine counterpart.
That is a beautiful analogy, and we also understand, like, a big ask.
Huge ask.
And women are being asked to do the same thing.
Mm.
We're all wanting to get to that point of, I can provide myself enough safety that if everything around me were to fall away, I would be able to rebuild. Like, I would be okay.
I still have so much love inside of myself for me that I am safe and okay. Like, really, that is everyone's, path here, and it's not easy, but that is that, and it's coming to the presence because I find the men are trying at times to circumvent all the plans in the future that could happen, which is really just anxiety, right? Or control. So every time that happens, I'm just going to invite you to come back to, are you safe now? And then, are you present now? Like, use your senses, do whatever tools you have. Take those 5 minutes in the morning, and then I think it'll be so beneficial. You'll extend it, but to really just center yourself before you get out of bed, meditate before you go to sleep, you know, say gratitude, and reassure yourself that everyone is safe around you
Yeah, including
in
if
the here and now.
and I wanna add into that, 'cause something I've become very passionate about recently is spiritual bypassing, because 'cause I've realized also the ways that I do it, which is not living in your emotional self, because if we're saying, like when we're saying if everything were to fall away and you'd be okay, that does not mean that you don't have emotions about what
Right.
happened. Yeah, that does not mean that you can't feel angry or sad or confused. That's not what we're saying. It's that you can still feel all of those things, and in your core, at your center, who you really are, you still know that you're okay. Like, yeah, I can feel this grief about everything that I've lost, and I'm still okay.
And it's important to feel it all. Otherwise, your field is clogged, as we've been talking about, right? Like, you don't have that direct connection. And so, something I find with the men, instead of, until maybe you're comfortable crying, because as we talked about, maybe they're not all comfortable with that. Breath work is a good inroads to that, because at times when you're doing breath work with an app or with a trained practitioner, emotions will arise, and you don't need to attach a story to them. That's the other key thing. You don't need to say, it's because of this. It's only important that you feel the emotion. You don't have to say, and because, they did that to me, and they did, once you go down that path, you're not owning your own power again, right? So it's just unclogging the field.
Yeah, something I've come to understand in general is that understanding is not as important as we think it is.
Yes. I
And
agree.
I'll probably do a whole episode on this because I had this revelation last year where I'm like, understanding is overrated. What matters
Yeah.
is acceptance. And if you're saying you don't need to necessarily, sometimes it's helpful, but you don't need to always pull the thread of where the emotion's coming from. You don't need to
That's right.
necessarily understand it because it could be coming from something that happened when you were 2 years old and that you will not remember, but your body remembers.
Or from lifetimes ago in
Yeah.
other places. And you know what? We don't have access to all of that right now here on Earth. So it's impossible to always find that end of that thread. So I 100% agree. It's the awareness. It's bringing the awareness to patterns, and then doing one step outside of that pattern for the good of your soul from that point on.
Yeah. Like, you you have to be okay with okay, with not knowing, comfortable with the unknown, which is off that feminine energy, and which is really hard for the masculine because the masculine's like, "I need to understand because if I understand, then I can fix it." But the thing about
Yes.
emotions is you don't fix them, and you don't change them by understanding. You let them do what they need to do. You let them live their life of birth growth and death. If you
Yes.
'cause
They're just indicators. Yeah.
yeah, and if you wanna look into what they're indicating, that could be really helpful, but it's not always necessary.
Yeah. Now, step 2 of that is if you have been ignoring it for lifetimes and lifetimes, then you are gonna have physical symptoms. So, if you're not feeling comfortable yet paying attention to your emotions and you wanna start with breath work, great. Also check in with your body. Where in your body
Mm.
is illness? Where is that and start working with, like, healing the physical body.
Yeah.
It's like a inverse way, like, you know?
It's an inverse. I've also met men that are so focused on the physical body that
Mhm.
they forget I guess this is true of anything you're focusing on, like, we focus too much on our spiritual health and not enough on how everything is connected, and so a lot of men are like, "Well, no, I'm healthy physically, so I'm good, I'm fine." Like, your physical health is supposed to support and interact with all of your other forms of health, mental, emotional, spiritual, and make sure that you're not just distracting with all of the exercise and the physical health, but you're actually, like, listening to your body, like you said, seeing where that emotion is maybe clogged up and
Yes.
talking sometimes talking to a practitioner to understand get a basic understanding of how to do that is really helpful.
But but don't be afraid to see your patterns. Like, one of my patterns is, like, I want my independence and freedom, and that's been from the start, so it's like anything but what is the shadow side of that? Am I being truly vulnerable in a relationship, right? So that's something I've had to work on, but I wasn't afraid to see the pattern. So that's what we're asking. This is something that is a key. It's like a key unlock. See your pattern, ask for help, do something different.
And you've given us 2 patterns that, like do you have the pattern of take, take, take because you don't feel safe and you feel like you need more in order to feel safe or to feel like a man? Or is your pattern this one of martyrdom and I don't matter and I just have to give, give, give my time, my energy to be this provider and to have worth and value? So, like
Sacrifice. Yeah.
yeah.
Lifetimes of sacrifice, like sacrificing your life essentially to guard whatever. I think that's where that stems from. Yes.
And yeah, maybe in past lifetimes or your ancestors, they did have to do that. They're like, "Oh, someone is threatening our home, and I have to be prepared to give my life to defend it." We're trying to move well, well away from that. The fact that humans have not figured out how to not kill each other in a war yet makes no sense to me whatsoever. Like, we we have other solutions.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Awareness. We're shining awareness on it. We're just asking, and that's enough right now with the energies here. Shining the awareness, saying, "I see that. I want to release it. You can speak this out loud. Please show me a different way." And then you'll stop having people enter your life to continue to play out that same pattern. So maybe I always think like maybe everyone signed up for their roles ahead of time to help whatever each person was here to transmute and learn. So that kind of takes the sting off of, I blame that person. I blame that person for everything. And I'm not saying it's black and white by any means. There's very many shades of gray here. But starting to think of it from that point of view frees you up to heal and have new people enter your realm because you've seen the pattern and healed it. You don't need to keep doing it.
Yes. What if right now all you had to do is look at your pattern, is say, "Oh, that's what I'm doing. Okay." Don't get ahead of yourself to say, "I need to be doing XYZ," because if you're saying that, then that's another form of like, "I should," which we've talked about before. Because like for the men that maybe are becoming aware and do see the ways like, maybe on a logical level, they see, "Oh, this is the way things are headed. This would be a more productive way for me to interact with people or to live my life." And then, okay, I need to do that. They jump immediately to, I need to do that,
Mm,
which just
good
puts
point.
another sort of pressure and distortion. And then they have such
Yes.
a hard time getting there
Yes.
bec- because they're not focused on the first step, which is just like, let me see what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Because that's where a lot of
Awareness.
that's where the pain is too. Of, "Oh my god,
Mhm.
I've been hurting myself in these ways, or I've been hurting other people in these ways. Shit."
Yeah.
That doesn't
It's hard.
yeah, looking at your patterns doesn't feel nice. We're not trying to pretend that it does. We're just saying it's important enough that we do it anyway. So I wanna, like, tell the men out
Yeah.
there, if your thing is like, "I wanna be a protector and a provider," what this new age and what we're asking, and if you really also want, like, an aligned divine partner, if, like, that's important to you, is we want you to provide your presence. That that protection that you can provide for us is no longer financial protection, because women in past structures, we've needed that because we haven't had access to it ourselves. We couldn't get jobs, we couldn't apply for a credit card, we couldn't own a house on our own. So, yes, we'll acknowledge in the past, we actually did need men for those purposes to work in the systems that used to be. Now, in the current systems, we can provide for ourselves financially. We can create a physical safety for ourselves. Now, in a partnership, and truly what both people need in the partnership is emotional safety, is presence of quality time. Like, for both partners to feel comfortable being vulnerable, we need you to provide an, an emotional safe space.
I would say the number one thing is we just need them to find their way back to their inner essence, just who they are when you strip everything away. And when they find safety in that, then we find safety in them. And sometimes it is going to be a partnership where one provides the financial resources and one doesn't, and and sometimes that does free up, the other person to use their creative ability or what have you. But also, these are external things. So it really just comes back to self and that work of inner self and like sitting with that and doing that growth work and being committed to that, even though it's hard. Yeah.
And God, when you say that, to me, that is so attractive. The idea of a man, like, getting back to their core of who they really are, and I can see it. I can see a bright, shining light of who they truly are, and I'm like, that is who I want. That is
And
who
not caring what their friends say and not caring who's, talking about like, oh,
what their
they're doing
family wants
something
them to do.
different. Yeah.
I've I had a long run of dating almost exclusively engineers. I don't something in my energy, a lesson it ended last year, but a lesson that I needed to learn was meant attracting very, like, engineer-brained people and math and physics and stuff like that into my life, and the amount of times I'm talking, like, in relationships, but also just in dates, and the amount of times I talked to an engineer man, and I asked, like, "Why did you become an engineer? What brought you to that?" The amount of times they answered with something along the lines of, "Oh, like, it's a good stable career," or, "Oh, um, my family, like, encouraged me to go into it," but just of them answering with an external of like, "Oh, it's viewed well," or, "Oh, it's also okay to want that stability and that," like, yes, it is probably something that you will always have employment in, and that's valuable, but the number of times I heard men go, "Oh, because I love it," or "Because I really enjoy it," hardly ever, and I'm like, to me, that tells me you haven't you haven't asked yourself the question. You just went with what looked good either to your family, to society, and maybe
Yeah.
again, that stability of knowing you'll have a job and a good job that'll always be necessary, that has value, of course. It but does it have greater value than your own desire and yourself if you don't enjoy it? Because you haven't even asked yourself if you enjoy it. Because you're like, "No, it's just, like, it's the logical decision."
It it's like those are beginning stages of spiritual awakening, path back to self. Yes. What lights me up? What makes me happy? What and giving yourself permission if you're especially on the one end of the spectrum to really go after that and just being like, yes, because what is good and lights me up lights everyone up around me.
Yeah. Love always turns into healing. Whatever if I truly dive into what I love, it will be healing for
Yeah.
but yeah, maybe those men, I can't diagnose them. It's just to me that would that would fit in with, yeah, that end of the spectrum where I'm giving away my power to something that says, "This looks good, so I guess I should do it."
Yeah. And there's a lot of ancestral patterns there that you're talking about actually too. And so a lot of this work is just breaking ancestral patterns because we've done it and they've done it and they've, like we talked about also at the beginning, but getting the courage and the bravery to say, no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
It does not bring me joy. It does not light me up inside. I'm dreading going to work. I have a pain in the center of my chest. All of these are signs we ignore until they get radiantly red, flashing, blinking. But, that no, not correct.
Yeah, until
Yeah.
they start screaming at you
Yep.
through serious illness, through accidents, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's screaming at you, like you said in the beginning, when a lot of men go through the initiation of really painful divorce, of really painful breakup. That's how everything comes to a head. And it's as painful as it is, it's still an opportunity to look at what is going on in your life, to look at what's not working for you and why.
And to create a whole new reality rooted in true authenticity, true self, because everything outside of you is always going to just reflect what's inside and it will rearrange to show you. So that's like the biggest thing about all of this is like, you've gone through the most painful thing. Now here's like something on a silver platter. Start creating what you truly who you are, truly what you want to embody. And it might take time, but it will all rearrange to that. So no judgment either way, or don't, I mean, it's like everyone has their own path.
Yeah. Actually exactly what set me on my path of rebuilding was getting out of a really harmful, toxic relationship where after I truly felt like I had nothing.
Mm,
We'd all been decimated, and I was like, "Well, guess we'll start from the ground up. We'll start from
yep.
0." And it's been years and years of rebuilding. But that's
Yeah.
okay.
And like coming into relationship with yourself, that sounds so cliche and everything, but that is all it is.
Yeah,
And
that
then when you're truly solid in that, nothing when something doesn't align with that, it's gone. You're like, I don't have time for that. Sorry.
I wanna have you seen you've seen, like, the spiritual spaces where men don't feel welcome.
Yeah. Or yeah. I don't know that it's welcome. It's more like intimidated maybe or something because they feel they're not there yet. Or maybe, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, whether either they don't feel invited in or maybe they don't feel good enough to be in that
Yeah.
space or it's not for them.
Yeah.
Have you also seen the men in the spiritual space who how do I say this? Who their ego has hijacked the spiritual space.
Yes. I've seen this across the board, actually. Yes. Yeah. I mean, for both energies. Yeah.
Yeah, both men and women.
Yep.
I I think I've become more aware of that in general, how, yeah, the ego can hijack the spiritual
Yes.
once we start attaching our identities to it, and I have met men who consider themselves extremely enlightened, extremely connected and spiritual. When they say that, well, what I see, and I'm not the all-knowing, I'm not a judge, I'm not anything. What I see is them still moving from a wound that they are
Mm.
not aware of. They're not aware that they're moving from.
Anytime that a core wound is not healed, it's that's what's going to happen, yes. Yeah, and so I like to put out, like, visions and dreams. That's I even spend time alone doing that so that anyone else can, like, attach onto that subconsciously. My greatest dream and vision is, like, the men in the spiritual community who have or outside of the community that have really, like, dug in and done this work, start having more of a platform of attracting and, kind of like if the earth and then lights kind of start coming on. Um, yeah.
Yeah, anytime I see a man, either, like, in my own life, on social media, whatever it is, that I truly feel, I can, like, feel the authenticity, I can feel the alignment, the connection with themselves. I'm so excited. Like,
I
yes,
know.
you need that platform. Men need to see you because we like, this is a love letter to men, and we this is us inviting men to do
Yeah.
the work with us,
Yeah.
but also they need to hear it from other men, and they need to see from other men that it's possible.
Yes. Yes.
I have amazing men in my life, like, it gives me so much hope, which is maybe why we wanted to have this conversation to begin with, is because I know you have amazing men in your life too, and we know how big of a difference it makes, we know that it's possible. One maybe last thing I wanted to touch on, because we can't talk about one without the other, is for the women that are birthing this new age, for the women that are also doing the work and want an aligned partner and want to support everybody, including men, in this. How can women navigate this change in a way that is compassionate towards what men are going through, while also not accepting the unacceptable behavior that sometimes comes from men, like holding these new standards, holding this new space? What would you say to them?
Ooh. Um, I think everyone's soul contracts are different, and I think there's going to be women who are committed to relationships where the man maybe is not going to take that spiritual journey in this lifetime too, and maybe if that woman has peace with that, that is completely fine. There's gonna be the other end of the spectrum where it's not gonna be aligned on either side, and the relationship will dissolve, and they will go on. But I always come back to, like, when you are solid with yourself, and this has taken a long time. I mean, this I feel like I maybe just, like, just getting there, but when you're really solid in your authenticity, what you're bringing and all of that, then there's no questioning of boundary testing or anything like that because it just your truth is solid. You're there. So you don't have to maybe consciously as much think about all of those boundaries and where maybe things are out of alignment because the magnetism or non-magnetism, I guess, is happening automatically by what you're radiating. So yeah, say just keep doing your inner stuff.
That is, I guess, the same thing that I asked earlier, which is what can I do for someone else? You can work on yourself. The only thing you can do for another
Yes,
person is work on
that's
yourself.
it. That's it. And then the path will become clear. If in a relationship is not correct, it will be glaringly not correct, and you cannot coexist like that anymore. Your soul, it will grind your soul. So, and if it is correct and you feel a peace, no matter what the other person you've come into acceptance, then that is correct for you. It's all It's all correct.
Would you say the same thing outside of the context of a relationship and more inside the context of these systems that we are currently dismantling to rebuild? Like for women navigating the systemic issues.
I would say yes. I would say the answer is to come into wholeness within so that anything happening externally does not feel like it's an attack, right? Because it doesn't matter. It's kind of happening over there because you're so solid inside. Um, and we all still have, lives to live and bills to pay and all of that. So if you are in a system that really doesn't feel aligned and you can't leave it, say that it's a job thing, right? Like then it's just baby steps. So just do what you can within the constructs of when and how you can do it to keep yourself and your nervous system safe first. It's not all going to be perfect tomorrow, and just to allow that grace. Yeah.
Yeah. I would imagine all those baby steps you take, the more solid you are in yourself, the more power you will have to change. Like if it is a job that's an issue, the more power you will have to find something else that is more aligned, that works better, to create something different.
Yep. And this goes for everyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've said essentially for men and women to do the same thing because we all need to do the same thing, which is just be more centered in ourselves. It's just we wanted to talk about the way specifically that men can do that and the specific challenges that men face because of years of societal
Collect-
structures and
Collective imprinting.
yeah.
Collective imprinting. That's literally in the DNA. Yes. And
Yes.
in the energy all around. Yes.
And I think the collective imprinting that has affected women, we've become a lot more aware of
Yes.
recently and we've taken action on. And yeah, it's in our conscious awareness now. But the imprinting on men has not quite reached that same level of our awareness.
Yes. I completely agree. That's why I'm that's why we're having this conversation.
Yes. We wanna
Yeah.
we wanna bring it in to the awareness for everybody because it will serve everybody.
Everyone.